Welcome to the Breaking Burnout for Nurses podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I say that every week, right? But I'm so glad you're here. Today we have Maureen Metzger returning, and today she's going to talk about her nurse coaching. She helps many nurses with burnout and other ailments. So we're going to have you today, Maureen, share some examples and some stories of some nurses that you've helped through the burnout recovery, and actually nurse burnout prevention would be good too, so that nurses can thrive. So welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Well, okay, so let's start out with one of your, a little example of how you coach one of your nursing clients with their
That'd
burnout.
be great. And I'll just kind of back it up by saying that, the way that I view it is it's really about how do I help people thrive, right? So how do I partner with people to help them thrive in their lives? And so for many people, that might be, as you say, sort of preventing themselves from getting into that depleted state, that burnt out state. So some people might come to me for that. Other people may come because they're already feeling very burnt out and they don't know how can I heal myself? How can I recover from this? And so that becomes the point of the work. And for other people, they're like, you know what? I'm doing pretty well. I'm functioning at a good place, but I'm worried about sustainability.
Exactly.
How can I
how do I make sure I keep it this way?
Yes. And so I think that, I sort of think of my work as, sort of helping people to thrive by living a values aligned life. And so I feel like there's 4 basic things that people are struggling with, which are when they come, in some way related to burnout or thriving. And it all comes down to relationships, right? Because we know in nursing that the nurse-patient relationship is a metaphorical vessel in which the healing takes place. If you're an educator, the educator-learner-educator relationship is the vessel in which the learning takes place. In coaching, it's the same thing. The relationship that you have with the client becomes a metaphorical vessel in which the transformation takes place. And so it's all about relational skills. And no matter what problem people come into the space with, it boils down to those relational skills. And they fall into 3 categories, really, well, maybe 4. Alignment. They come to me, they're out of alignment. So who they are as a person, the essence of who they are, what their core values are, and why they do what they do, what motivates them, what fills them with joy and passion. Their who and their why are not leading what they do and how they do it. So I call that being out of alignment. And that's going to lead to burnout, right? Because it's very energy depleting. And if you keep living a life that is not in line with your values and who you are, and in a way that you're not motivated, you're going to run out of energy pretty darn quickly. The other is boundary. Yeah, go ahead.
I think people, maybe they don't even think about what are my values.
Yes.
You kind of just go along and you don't even realize what are my values. I mean, you don't even think about it. And so maybe that is part of the problem, is that you don't even know what you need to be striving for.
Right. But when you're in a state of exhaustion or depletion, that is your body's way, or the universe way, of telling you you are not in alignment. And so if you can look at that as a gift or a signal, if you will, and so that's sort of what I think of as the A piece and the ABCDs of thriving. And the B piece is boundaries, right? If we don't have good boundaries, or if we view boundaries as saying no to other people, as being very selfish and self-centered, it becomes very hard. And nurses and women in particular have a really hard time sometimes setting boundaries. What they don't realize, though, is, like an empty, if your cup is empty, you can't possibly give to anyone else. And so setting boundaries is not about saying no to other people. It's about yes to keeping yourself in alignment. And people, if you don't have boundaries, it's a quick path to burnout for sure, and depletion.
And I think nurses have a big problem with boundaries. You have to be really realize that, and we have to remind each other too. I know
and support each other. support
Yes,
each other.
you have to, because when it's you don't realize it sometimes. So it's good for your coworkers to remind you, hey, you've done a little bit too much extra, you need to take care of yourself.
Yes.
So we need reminders, and we need to remind our coworkers too that, hey, maybe it's time you take a break, or not do the extra shift or something. They might
Yeah.
see the red flags that you don't see.
Right.
So
And just a way of
yeah.
normalizing, sort of self-care and thinking of boundaries as a very loving way. It's not just
Yes.
loving for yourself, it's loving for the people around you. Because if you continue to say yes when you really don't want to, those are what I call reluctant yeses. And those can quickly become resentful yeses.
Oh, yes.
And then they actually harm the relationship, right? It's like putting a pot on the back burner with a little bit of water and you got the flame going. At some point, right, either you're going to burn the pot, all the water's going to be gone, you're going to burn it, or if it's full, it's just going to overflow. But either way, it's not a good situation. And so I think thinking of that as when I set boundaries, healthy boundaries, it is a way of honoring the relationship to myself and to the people around me so that I can keep showing up as my best self. And then I would
Yes.
say, the third area would be the communication piece. And so some people, they know who they are, they know what makes them tick, they know what brings them fulfillment, and they're pretty clear on boundaries, but they don't actually communicate those to anyone else, and they don't use communication as a way of keeping themselves in alignment and keeping their boundaries secure. And so when you do that, it's just wishful thinking, right? If all my boundaries are only in my head, and
Right.
nobody else around me knows them and I don't set them, then I'm going to constantly be frustrated in my relationships. And people will be frustrated with me and I'll be frustrated. And then the last piece of it is that sometimes people struggle with is if they have all that down, is that discernment piece. They're not sure whether something that is happening to them or a situation at work or in their personal lives is a sign of something, and they're not sure what. Am I feeling fear here that I should work through? This is an opportunity for growth, or is this a red flag that I'm
Mhm.
hitting? A values, my values are being challenged or compromised in some way. And so I would say that those would be the main things that people come to me with one of those issues. And so I'll give an example of one nurse, Irene, I've written about her, who palliative care nurse, wonderful, give, 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 give. Been
Mhm.
doing it for a long time. And she came because she was just like, I'm not feeling it. I
Mhm.
I know my patients deserve better. I wanna give better, but I just feel like the tank is empty, and I don't go home at the end of my I go home at the end of my shift instead of feeling like job well done. I go
Mhm.
home feeling like no matter what I do, it's not good enough. I just can't seem to do it. I'm just going through the motions, and then I come home, and it's the same thing at home. I got nothing left. I left
Yep.
it all at work, even though I left work not feeling like I did a good job. Now I'm home and I've got nothing left to give my family, my loved ones. And so the first thing we had to do was sort of figure out, what is going on here? And for her, she had lost sight of what is deeply meaningful, like the aspects of her job that really brought her joy and satisfaction. And for her, it was around listening to people's stories, helping them build legacy, helping them maximize quality of life for whatever time they had left. And you
Oh.
could see her whole face lighting up when she
Oh,
said
okay.
that. And so then
Oh.
we had to figure out, well, okay, well, if you know that this is the essence of who you are and what brings joy and meaning in your life, why are you not doing it? What is getting in the way? And then she sort of figured out, wow, I don't have good boundaries. I am saying yes, 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 yes to every
Mm.
extra shift, taking the hardest patient assignment, precepting people. I'm just saying yes to everything except the aspects of my job that I love. And so it was really then teaching her how to use I call it your North Star, that constellation of your values, your purpose, your mission, why you were put on this earth, as a guide for her decision making around what she was going to say yes to and what she was going to say no to. and helping her think through instead of viewing every decision as a yes or a no, and saying yes, not wanting to disappoint people, that she could think about a heck yes. That's a values aligned decision, or a heck no, and that is no way, this doesn't align with my values. But
Right.
then thinking about there's a not now, and there's also a reluctant yes. And so the reluctant yes is where you really have to pause. Why am I saying yes here? And if I'm saying yes here, what am I saying no to? And once she was able to sort of understand that, she realized that, wow, my day is filled with reluctant yeses. And oh boy, they've come
Ah.
with resentment. I'm resenting my spouse for not doing his fair share at home. I'm resenting my kids for giving me a hard time at the end of a long day because they haven't seen me. I resent the people at work who are asking me to do more. And sometimes I'm resenting the patients, seeing them as needy. And she realized it was, again, because she was so empty. And so once she sort of figured that out and started saying yes in a values aligned way and setting her boundaries, she became much happier, just much happier. And so that was, an amazing experience for her and for me to see her tap to that wonderful piece that was already there. Right. And so that's a great example of somebody who it didn't take long for them to figure out like what their core values are. They kind of knew that. They just lost sight of it because they needed some help around boundaries. Right.
Oh, I love that, Maureen. So, my audience out there, you could see that Maureen could be very helpful in guiding you to, realize where you're missing the pieces that hold it all together. And so if you do want to get a hold of Maureen, let us know what your LinkedIn contact
Yes.
is.
So, yep. I'm on LinkedIn. Maureen Metzger is my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. I create a lot of content there. I'm pretty much on there every day, sort of checking in. Also, you can go directly to my website. People can email me directly. Most people seem to like to start with LinkedIn because we can learn a lot about each other on LinkedIn, right? We can look at the profile. We can look at content that people are posting. We can see who they follow, who follows them. And I call it the low-hanging fruit. It's a great way to sort of find out a little bit more about somebody and what they're like, what their philosophy is before you actually reach out to have a conversation with them. I also do free consultation and connection calls because, sometimes that can be helpful for people. They don't really know what is coaching all about. Who is this person? Maybe I just, need a little bit of guidance to get me started. And so that's also a kind of a low stakes way to learn a little bit more about coaching and whether that is right for you or not.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay, so it's Maureen, Maureen, Metzger, Metzger on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And let's see. So is it Metzger Coaching or just Maureen Metzger on LinkedIn?
It's just Maureen Metzger. So that's my personal profile that's on there. Yeah.
Perfect. So
my link to my website is on the LinkedIn as well, if you wanted to go from there to look at the website. So yeah, lots of ways to get to know me. And as you may know from coaching, I mean, the way that I look at it is I kind of see myself as walking alongside people and holding space for them while they are navigating and trying to figure things out, because people have the answers inside them already. Right. I just help people tap into the awesomeness that's already there. And it is. I've never met a nurse who isn't awesome, who doesn't have awesomeness inside themselves. Sometimes you just need somebody to hold space while you figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you again for being here. And okay, I'm going to have you back another time because I know, yes, I know that you're a CNE provider. And so we want to hear more about that. All right.
Sounds great.
So my audience out there, come back on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific because we are breaking burnout here. Bye. See you next week. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.